So what techniques do you teach?
Sure. I teach movement, which is an umbrella for a lot of things, but mainly my focus is neutral mask and then also devised theater. I also teach Linklater, vocal training, clowning, so it all kind of falls under that world of movement and the expressive body.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Which one would you say is like the one that you teach the most, or the most qualified, or the one that really drives you to teach?
Goodness, that's tough.
It's all of those?
It's tough, but I would say my focus goes into neutral mask. So I'm heavily influenced by Jacques Lecoq and Le Bon, and then also we go a little bit into the world of clowning just because they play well with each other. So I'd say the majority of my focus here in the Southeast is that.
Why do you think that learning a technique of any kind matters for an actor?
Learning a technique is learning a language, right? So if we step back from which technique should I study, think about technique as an entry point into yourself, right? So if we are performers, our job is to tell story, to communicate, to share with someone that may be similar to us, that can relate, or someone that is so far from where we've lived, but still they can relate because we all understand loss, happy, pain, foolishness. Then a technique is a way for you to start breaking down that language of yourself. And it's a way to start discovering how you can bring that to the surface, how you can be part of a community performing, and I think that's the important part of it. Why is it necessary for us to continue studying or practicing a technique? We age, we change, we go through things, and one of the things that we have that's lovely, because it's our body's way of taking care of us, is habits. So especially if we look at movement, what I'm talking about is how to understand how you react to something. One, that's for performance, but also to really understand where you are in life right now. So to practice a technique, one, you learn something, but then after you learn it, now you have to apply it to yourself. So for example, when I studied Linklater, I was kind of a mess. And then I remember very clearly 4 years later one day going, that's what I do. That's what that means. That's my not speaking up, or that's where I get quiet. And so the discovery is always ongoing. So then the study itself should be ongoing, and then you are always going to evolve. So then shouldn't we always be trying to discover that evolution, I think.
Good.
The second was, is there a benefit to more than one?
Yeah, I mean, are there any benefits? Is there benefits? Should an actor, whatever, study more than one type or one technique?
Yes. Here is my opinion with that. I also find that as time passes, my technique becomes an amalgamation of things. If I'm doing a show that is classical versus contemporary, very physical or non-physical, my approach or the process is going to be different for each one. I think, especially for newer actors, you should want to find out everything, right? It's the same way with trying food. Sometimes we like this, sometimes we don't. Our palate changes, our experiences affect how we can relate. So maybe this thing that we didn't understand, now we understand so clearly, or we don't, or we hate it. And it's tricky with techniques that you hate, because either you're not resonating with it, or perhaps there's a fear there. And I think that's the benefit of looking at all of these different aspects. I think that's important. Well, and we also live in a world where we've been socialized, right? And now COVID has done this thing where we are sitting most of the time. So we tend to forget that we are animals. And if we were children and we hadn't been taught, say please, I might still hit someone when I want a cookie, because that is what I want. So to not forget that part of yourself And when you do say please in the workplace, that can come out. So that's where the physical exploration comes in, right? That I fully explode, and then now I contain it. And it's what you're saying. Then we combine it with the psychological, with my voice, with movement. And with movement, I'm grouping in vocal as well. That you really can explode yourself and explore yourself completely in the fullest capacity possible, so that you can contain it, because that always sits in us.
Right. Thoughts? How long do you think a new actor should study any kind of technique before they start going out and auditioning for things, theater or camera?
I think if an opportunity presents itself, you should say yes.
Okay.
So you may not be ready. But also the great thing about Atlanta is there are resources, so go to someone and find out what you need to do, because the universe decided you were ready. That's my whatever answer to that.
Yeah.
But also I think one, study is a lifelong thing. I think if you are deciding to do this as a craft, you should learn enough that you understand what is professional, what is going to be expected of you when you walk in the room. And that's not just for you to walk in and make a good impression. That's for you to feel comfortable. That's for you to feel that you can walk in and just be yourself and not try and create what I should be for someone. Because the times that I go, F it, the times that I go, I don't care, this is who I am, but also let me follow through so we can communicate that with each other. It feels great. So you should know what is needed or expected of you to audition, but also maybe something presents itself when you're not ready, and then ask someone very quickly.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yes, and you will make mistakes, and that's okay. As someone told me this a long time ago, and I always start my classes with it, which is, with everything you do, judge yourself very harshly, and then pass a light sentence.
There you go.
Because if we don't do that, then I stop training, I stop learning, I let fear take over.
Mm-hmm. What do you think will make Atlanta actors in general, in the Atlanta market, just better actors? What do you think would do that?
So I thought about this a lot. Like, what is the golden nugget, or the, right?
And you can say 2 or 3 if you want.
I think it comes down to just discovering who you are again. But what is going to make me better is to always be curious. I kept kind of coming back to this. Curious about how the industry is changing, curious about someone else's story, curious about your story, curious about how you express your story, how you stopped expressing your story, how anything. We should really dissect ourselves like cooking a good meal, and it's going to change all the time. So I think it's kind of a broad response, but that curiosity has to be there. That said, if you're tired, rest, live, right? That there's focus on this career, but we are a career of living stories. So also explore these other parts of yourself. Because I do see a focus sometimes so much on this, that on performance, that we forget we have family and other lives. And the things outside of technique are just as important as the technique, I think, because we have to be in touch with the world. So I think it comes down to a continual curiosity for everything about this.
I love what Uta Hagen's father taught her.
Yeah.
Observe, observe, observe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And then you also said it, but Brecht says, ever try it, ever fail, fail again, fail better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared, you probably shouldn't go in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're out there worried about your lines or some other shit, you're fucked.
And then that's where you're asking people, how do I do this? That's where technique, classes, how am I supposed to operate in this world? And then also with fear, I always love to tell myself before auditions, I go, because I get nervous. Everyone does something. Even if I don't feel nervous, I'll start sweating.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's your body going, there is a disaster that's possible right now. And I always tell myself, I say, okay, thank you. Body, there's not a disaster right now. We can play.
Yeah.
and then go play. Why do I teach? I love it. This goes with devised theater, right? Creating a story from nothing. I love being able to be a support system where people can discover themselves. I mean, the way I approach teaching, and I tell people this too, is I'm actually your student. It is my job to discover what excites you. It's my job to teach you these things that I know, but it's also my job to find the way that you latch onto them, because that's going to serve you, right? It's not about me just giving you the alphabet of vocal training. It's me saying, now, how does this alphabet apply to your heart, your mind, all those things? And when you see someone relax into their body for the first time, when you see someone realize they had a voice they didn't have, or cry, or something silly makes them laugh, the sound, it's all of these little micro things that you're starting to realize brings you to life. And there's just, I'm not explaining myself well. There's so many ways, and I can say that also as a woman of color, right? We've been socialized to be quiet in a way. Now I'm getting off topic, I think.
No.
But
You're talking about why you teach.
Yeah, I love giving somebody the freedom to say, you are everything. And so now let's find out how you get to enjoy that and celebrate your body. And there's nothing like it to see people. And sometimes they get it right away, sometimes they don't. But if they don't get it right away, my goal is to have at least given them the foundation that maybe years later before an audition they go, like I did, you know.
What, Anastasia, is one of your guilty pleasures?
This is so bad. I have two. May I tell you a story?
Please.
I don't eat meat. And that's recent because part of my family's from the Bayou. So it's like, I won't wear makeup, but I will spend hours working on crab legs. That's just, so, I'm like, that is good work. That is good work. That's what we should be doing. So I say I don't eat meat to say I love gummy bears. So that's the one thing that's going to keep me from becoming a vegan. It's not going to happen. I know. I've watched the video. I know what they've done. I love these things. And I actually had a partner that once was like, you know what's in there, right? I said, yeah. You've seen the video? I said, yeah, I've seen the video. And he was like, well, you know what you're putting in your body. And I finally said, you can't change me. That's it. And then also his mother, because I had Skittles, because I love fruity candy,
yes.
She says, no sugar. And we'd been getting along so well, and I remember very, very clearly thinking, this is it. This is where we're going to fall apart. I'm not giving up this candy. So I love gummies, I love Skittles. I don't know if that's a guilty pleasure, that's a guilty food. And then...
well, it's a pleasure for you, right?
Yeah, I love them. And I also love scratch-offs.
Oh, like for the lottery?
I don't know why.
Okay.
So every year I tell my family, I'm like, don't give me anything for my birthday, just like throw a bunch of scratch-offs in a Kroger bag and I'm good. Like I don't need things.
I'm like a kid with a refrigerator box, man. I'm good to go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I would say with people, this is maybe a bad habit.
Oh.
Sometimes I'll see things and I'm like, this person might be crazy. I'm going to ask them why.
Ask them why?
Yeah.
Man, I like that.
So that is either the start of a great adventure or a great adventure that ends badly quickly.
Definitely crazy.
Let's ask how you do it.
Let's ask how you're doing.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Wow.